Main event, Jey Uso does not deserve to be champion. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Neostarling. I am back here with a rare wrestling review. So a lot of you might not know this, but originally when my channel started, I was actually a wrestling channel, and I used to talk about wrestling all the time. That was sort of my bread and butter initially when I began. But forget about all of that. I really just want to talk about not the state of wrestling currently, but what it means to be a main event superstar towards the point where you are world champion. That's really what I want to describe, and the archetype of what a world champion is. So who better than Jey Uso to discuss this with? Now, first and foremost, I'm going to preface this by saying I actually do like Jey Uso. There's a reason he's been around for so long. Him and his brother Jimmy Uso, tag team champions for like the longest. They've been in the industry for 10 plus years. You know, they're very good in ring. There is a reason why they are so popular. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that he doesn't deserve his flowers. Listen, Jey has the look. Jey has the in-ring ability. But one thing that I believe is a detriment to him is his ability to speak on the mic. And although y'all might not think this is very important, if you were watching AEW or early TNA, then mic skills weren't that prevalent because, let's face it, that's basically a tumbling match. You know, you have a lot of people just doing move after move after move, and it doesn't really lead to anything. There's no story building, right? And I think that's a big problem. So for me, the archetype of what I consider a world champion to be, one, is to have the look. And by the look, I don't necessarily mean you have to have this super brolic physique. You don't have to be like 6'7", 280 pounds of like pure muscle and six-pack abs. What I mean the look is that you have an appearance that is generally recognizable by the community. You know, you look cool. And that's something that I think Jey Uso has. He looks cool. He has the tattoos. He has the classic Samoan look. You know what I mean? And when he and his brother originally used to be a tag team, you know, they used to do that Samoan dance, which I always thought was really cool. It was sort of a really great way to introduce them into the match. So I believe look-wise, he definitely has it. He cut his hair in a way that distinguishes him from his brother. So now we are able to, you know, actually tell them apart, which is great. Now, when it comes to the in-ring ability, he has it, man. I can't say he doesn't. I'm telling you, this guy's been a veteran for quite a while, and there's a reason for that, because he has the ability to go in the ring and perform at a high level. There is a reason why they're calling him main event Jey Uso, but it's not because of his mic skills. And that's the next thing that I want to touch up upon, and it's the fact that he is bad on the mic. Me and my friend Jason sort of have this, it's like an inside joke, but basically when Netflix acquired Raw, you know, we're able to fast forward sections that we don't want to watch, right? Or we feel that it's too long, you know, we're going to fast forward it. So we started fast forwarding every time Jey Uso's entrance appeared, but only because they were so long. And you know what? He has the crowd on his side, man. So, you know, you got you got people doing the whole hand movements, and that's pretty cool. But the entrance is so long that it takes up the majority of his promo time. So he's not able to actually give you a good cohesive story. As a matter of fact, on the contrary, it's the opposite. He comes in the ring so winded from having such a long entrance that he's not able to properly articulate whatever like 5 or 6 sentences they give him before he finishes off with a signature 4 letters, 1 word, you know what I mean? And I think that was always a detriment to this particular character. Now, here's the thing. I personally think, and again, this is not an insult. The guy's a great talent, you know, but if you don't have the ability to talk on the mic, then he shouldn't be world champion. I'm sorry. You have to make me care, and you can't just come out to the crowd and then just yeet for like 20 minutes before you start talking. It's not entertaining. You know, it gets boring fast. You're rewatching the same thing essentially. Now, honestly, I believe, and this is going to probably sound controversial, but if you were going to make him world champ, he should have been a heel. And I'm going to say this because you can be a heel and not have good good mic skills, but you can have a manager, somebody like Paul Heyman, you know, that will come in and speak on your behalf because you're not able to do it. Look at people like Brock Lesnar. He's a primary example of this. Brock has never been great on the mic, but he has the look and he has the in-ring ability. But because he had a mouthpiece like Paul Heyman, he was able to rise above the heavens and become one of the greats, right? Now, Jey Uso, this is kind of, how can I explain this? this is sort of a bad situation for him because the crowd is so much on his side. They're yeeting every time he comes out. Every time he does a move, they're yeeting. He has the pull of the crowd, so it was difficult to make him a heel. You really couldn't make him a heel, even if you wanted to, because typically baby faces don't really have mouthpieces. You know, you might have an exception here and there, but for the most part, they are pretty proficient on the mic, you know, and that's something that I think he should work on. You know, if you have to take speaking lessons or whatever the case may be, I think that's something that he should have put a primary focus on once he knew he was going to be champ. Or heck, practice those promos in front of the mirror. You know what I mean? Just talk to yourself for like an hour or two until you know that when you come out, you're going to say what you have to say properly, you know? And I get it because, you know, I'm not really sure how much freedom they're given to sort of speak off the cuff. I know that used to be a thing back in the day where they were like, hey man, just be who you are, but like increase your personality like tenfolds, right? That's sort of who they were back then, but that's certainly not the case anymore. I know they have scripts. I know they have to follow a certain guideline of how they're supposed to explain their promos. Or heck, maybe they're giving bullet points and it's just like, hey, as long as you touch upon these points, bam, 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 you're good. But that's something that he lacks. And, you know, unfortunately, he had to lose the title on Raw to Gunther or Gunther. I'm going to say Gunther. I think it sounds cooler. You know, the ring general, right? The Austrian. And Gunther has all of the above. He has the look. He just looks like an evil man. Like, there's no better way to say it. Like, he looks evil. He looks intimidating and tough. He's also pretty good in the ring, and he has the ability to speak properly. He knows how to talk on the mic, which is dangerous. Once you have that trifecta, you have what it takes to be champ, you know, and that it only depends on whether or not you're lucky enough to get pushed by the machine. So even though it's a little bittersweet to sort of see Jey lose the belt, I think that it was necessary, to be perfectly honest with you. And again, there's no shade on him. I know it's controversial to say this, but I don't think he should have been champ. You know what I mean? Or here's a couple of things you could have done, right? If you wanted to solidify him in that spot, because once more, he has the in-ring ability. That was a great match those two had on Raw. That was definitely a pay-per-view quality match. They told a great story in the ring. You know, the whole thing where you know, his ribs were taped up because he got beaten up the last couple of nights that he came out. He lost, but he didn't look weak losing, which was really good in a way because they told a good story by Gunther being the villain, capitalizing on the fact that he was injured. And they did a really cool spot where once he did the splash off the top rope, Gunther saw how hurt he was, and then they kind of like zoomed in on him just a little bit, which I thought was freaking devious. And he just smiled, indicating that, okay, I'm going to methodically dismantle this man in order for me to, you know, get this belt. And I thought it was great storytelling because even though you took the belt from Jey, he didn't look weak in defeat. He looked strong in defeat because he came in there with a pre-existing injury. And he still gave it his all. He still gave a fantastic match. On top of that, he wasn't pinned and he didn't tap out. He was put to sleep, which is even better because that means that he fought so hard that the only way you were going to stop this man was from putting him to sleep. So once more, he did a great job when it came to that. Look, all in all, I'm going to just say this. I think Jey Uso has potential. I think later on with a little more seasoning, and by seasoning, I mean his ability to talk in the ring, if you shorten his entrances, if he stops coming out with the crowd so much, if he stops wasting all of his energy by the time he gets in the ring, he can have a good opportunity to have a good promo. I mean, Roman Reigns was horrible at promos in the beginning, but he got a lot better. So we can't say that Jey Uso doesn't have the same potential in him. He does. Anyway, with that said, I just wanted to give my thoughts on that. Deuces.